Hello, everybody. It is another edition, an episode, I should say, on the One Leeds fan channel. And as always, well, that's becoming a weekly thing now. I'm delighted to be joined by my main man, Kagey. You will check or you will see Kagey's channel link in the description. Well, in the description and in the title should be. So make sure you check out Kagey's channel. I'm sure you all do anyway every week. And we're back here discussing Leeds United. 9 days to go. And I was saying to Kagey offline, it's becoming difficult for me to talk to the camera at the minute. I don't know. Maybe it's because I've just been doing it consistently now for about 5 months, 2 or 3 times a day. But I need people to bounce off now. And one of my favourite people to bounce off in the Leeds United world is Kagey. How are you doing, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Look, you know that thumbnail that you've got of me. I love how you always use that one from the Man United loss when we lost 5-1. So I can't believe I was watching. You know, when we first came up and we was like, we're playing, or Man United won't be able to handle it, and they just slapped us up.
there was one. There was either that one or there's one on your Twitter, I think, where someone's tagged you in it, and it's like you're going like that. And I was like, I can't use that one.
Yeah, I know that one. That was from when Somerville scored the winner at Anfield.
Yeah. Fair play. So
yeah, no, man, I'm good, man. Listen, I like everybody else. I would love us to be talking about some positive signings coming through the door and everything else like that. But unfortunately, you guys, we can't make up the news. I mean, we could, but we destroy our credibility. So yeah.
Yeah, you can almost say as much as you can in a title, really, to entice people in. But if you're just barefaced lying, you're gonna get yourself a bit of a reputation. So yeah, it's not ideal. Brett says, morning, guys. Morning all. Ina's in the building. Louis said, I'm so desperate for players now. I'm checking planes to and from Leeds Bradford Airport. Louis, just get to the gym, mate. Do something. Just take up golf. Do whatever you need, mate. Just Kagey, whatever situation Leeds are in, it always feels like this is the end to our transfer window. It's never different to this, is it? It never feels different to this, at least.
No, I mean, and you look at this time last year when we was getting in Ethan Ampadu and players like that, you're thinking real smart signings. And you know what, even go to this season with Jadon Bogle, you think, all right, yes, we've got a right back in now, fill out the other pieces of the squad. And then we don't replace Somerville, so we still need 2 players for that. Then Jorginho goes out the door and it's like, oh, that's what's happening. And then, of course, the knock-on effect is it goes onto the team. And I guess we'll speak about both the 49ers and Daniel Farke today. But with Leeds United, I've said on my channel many times, kind of whenever there's any bad news, this team, this club never needs an excuse to lose games or not win them. They whenever there's an excuse, they will have it in their back pocket and use it and go, oh, we were unsettled because of this. How about you use the players that we've got and get some wins and just make it easy on yourself as well for Daniel Farke. But the 49ers do need to back him as well, 100%.
Probably a good place to start, mate. It feels like I'm separating all these videos out into 3 sections, really, but we're sort of going to have to, because that's the topic of conversation right now. The San Francisco 49ers. Spoke about this yesterday. I mean, we've spoken. I think the lad's name from Paris FC is Cabell or Kebble. Butchered that name, but Leeds and Burnley are interested in him. There's been discussions about Leeds and Manuel Benson as well. Look like similar profiles, him and Kebble, in terms of just coming in off the right onto the left. But yeah, I don't know, man. 9 days left, 4 signings, which has been uttered. And listen, even Ethan Ampadu was saying it on the Radio York, or it was West Yorkshire piece, wasn't it? So it feels right now, Kagey, that it's coming to a boiling point. Now it almost feels like they have to get 4 signings now. If you've got a player mentioning it, I know he's not directly said 4 signings, but Farke has mentioned it about 3 times now. It feels like it's now a necessity. It's not really an option.
Yeah, and I would even go back to when Joe Rodon signed for the club. I don't think there's any way that Joe Rodon rejects Premier League interest to come back to Leeds if we're not recruiting properly. So they would have sold him on a project as well. So that's where the 49ers have got just a little bit of wiggle room. They've still got about 9 days to get this done. So if they come through in the clutch with quality signings towards the end of the window, we'll be saying, why couldn't we get these before? But we'll be happy that they're through the door. So they do have a bit of time. But let me say, if they do end the window and it finishes like this, or they add like a Benson, Yeah, it's gonna be peak. I'm gonna tell you. I will. The thing is, for me, I don't get fooled by the last minute, buy-ins like a Jaden Anthony. I was very steadfast on that. I said last year that was just a throw-in. That was a throw-in by Bournemouth. Leeds didn't want to leave with nothing, so they brought Jaden Anthony along with them. I'm not going to accept that. I never do. So you can't fool me. If you bring in 2 or 3 bodies that are just there just to fill out the squad, but they're not quality, I will still grade it upon that. You know what I mean? But fans in general, they'll just be happy to see bodies come through the door. Not for me. We need to replace these players. We needed 2 to replace Somerville, and we probably need 2 to replace Rutter. And that was before Daniel Farker said we need a fullback central midfielder as well. So there's work to do.
It's interesting you're saying 2 and 2 there as well. Are you just literally saying that in terms of impact? Because obviously you're losing a player like Rutter, and the quality, the caliber of the man cannot be replicated by any single body. It has to be by 2.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Daniel Farker said that as well in regards to Somerville. You know, Daniel Farker said in regards to Somerville, not one player is going to replace Cree Somerville. It's going to take like 2 or a team effort to replace that output, and he's actually correct with that. There is not going to be one player that comes in, especially if you're talking Manuel Benson, to come in and try and replace Cree Somerville. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it feels with Benson's. In particular, it feels like with Benson, it's one of those where is that domestically anyway, because you're looking at other teams and obviously players in and around where we are right now, Cage, in terms of loan additions potentially, which seems very, very quiet in terms of rumours, but in terms of players in the Championship who've done it to a half decent level, is nowhere near what we'd be looking at. But domestically, I have to say this, not on the continent, we know with Cabal and Leeds are looking at him. It's a different conversation, but domestically, it feels like, is that the pool we're playing in right now? Because Clark and Rowe and all that sort of caliber, I guess, Championship caliber player are sort of looking like they're off the table.
Well, I would hope not. I mean, I would hope not, but time will tell. The thing is with a player like Benson, he's a good addition if you've still got Somerville, if you still got Jorginho. He's a good complement because you don't have to rely on him. You wouldn't be looking at him to be your go-to man. And if you just look at his career history, I mean, I couldn't believe this. He's rarely started more than 20 games per season, and he's 27. And I think
injured a lot as well, isn't he?
Yeah, I think people get fooled by, I think they still think he's like 22, 23. The guy's 27 years old, and he was playing in the Belgian league for a long time. And apart from that year with the Championship with Burnley, where he was good,
yeah,
he hasn't exactly lit the place up. So, yeah, I threw the question out to my subscribers as well. Why would Burnley sell their promotion rivals a player like Manuel Benson? You have to look at it that way as well. I don't think that we would sell Sheffield United or Burnley Joe Gelhardt. So if they're selling Manuel Benson to us, that kind of speaks volumes for me too.
Yeah, it does. It feels very Rafael Varane to Manchester United from Real Madrid, doesn't it? It's not on that level, obviously, but it's very much like, yeah, we don't really need him. Why are you signing him, sort of thing? But we'll take the money. No,
or more comparable, Man City to Arsenal before Arsenal were challenging when they got Jesus and Zinchenko. Pep's just saying, yeah, here you go, Arsenal. You're no threat. Here you go. And that's what it would feel like in terms of Benson from Burnley to Leeds for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's interesting with the 49ers, KG, the damage that has been done to this club, and we have spoken about this so many times, whether or not it's on the debrief or me and you just having chats about it. I think the long-term look at a lot of what's been going on at Leeds doesn't just cast its eye on this season or even last season. Daniel Farker's mentioned us paying for the sins, but he's probably not really wrong there when you look at the amount of money that we've lost when it's come to players. Obviously we've had the parachute payments. We've had Red Bull, who feel like maybe it's a little bit more on the commercial side right now because it doesn't feel like we might be getting expertise, but I don't know, expertise, insight. Maybe you'd be looking at some Red Bull signings or at least rumors, and we've not had that really. But it feels like right now it's maybe we are paying for the sins, and maybe Leeds have had to, sort of. I mean, we've balanced the books, but we've also sold on these players over the years, KG, where we have made massive losses. Rodrigo, whatever we brought in, certain personnel for back, Llorente, Robin Koch, players of these, all the players that have come in, and we've looked at them and gone, wow, what a loss we've made. And it feels like right now, the 49ers maybe are behind the scenes? Do you think potentially they're suffering with this, or do you think that's just a little bit of a PR scheme and maybe something a little bit more sinister's going on? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know about anything more sinister, but there is a lot of money still owed on previous transfers. I don't even think we've paid off Dan James yet, and
No,
look at how long ago that was. So there are still deals that we're still paying out for, but I think what people are looking at is all the money we've accrued over the summer, and even Sinistera. I completely forgot about that one. That was this summer because the deal was done after the January window, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So we even got 20 million for Sinistera this summer, and you just want to see. For me, I've already said it. You don't need to throw a bunch of money back into the recruitment. You just got to recruit sensibly and smartly, and you can do that at this level. But it's just that you need proof, and actions speak louder than words. We've heard Daniel Farker talk about, like you say, paying for the sins. The only thing I would say with that is look at the amount of money we've made from players that were playing for us last year, and we didn't go up, Daniel. You know what I mean? And you know, there's hardly any other team that is accruing the kind of money we are. We've got 40 for Jorginho, near 40 for Gray, 20, what is it, 25 for who else has gone? Who's our other main one that's gone? Somerville. Yeah. So
Kamara.
Sorry?
Kamara.
Yeah, Kamara, yeah, if you like, yeah.
Still 10, I guess. Still 10 though, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah. But you know, you look at that, then you look at the embers that are left over. There's still a good base here, but it's gonna need help, man. You've seen it already. Our starting 11 and a few bench players look really good, but once those guys get suspended, injured, it looks sticky because we got like 19 senior players, haven't we? 20.
Yeah.
So
and that's with Bamford and Byram.
Yeah. And look, and the thing is as well. I mean, Daniel Farker has said it himself, but it's something that I said on with you before. Is that the loan market is going to be very difficult for us because we're not promising these players first team football, and that is a draw for, especially if they're coming down from the Premier League. If they're coming down from the Prem, they usually want first team football. The difference with the Joe Rothwell is he was unwanted at Bournemouth, so he would be happy to be a squad player here, which we're seeing that he is right now. You know, he didn't start the last game, and that's where it's tripping us up because we can't guarantee him. It feels like we almost have to give him, you know, that FIFA promise where you're an important player, but you're not really.
Yeah.
Okay, you're important. Whoopsie. But no, we are having. But the thing is, Daniel Farker did say that there are players that want to play for Leeds. Prove it.
Yeah, 100%. And we know he's got a bit of a hand in the transfers as well, which, you know, might be a good thing, might be a bad thing, but that's how it feels when it comes to some of the personnel that we've even gone for. You know, even I think I mentioned to you before that they went in for Kenny McLean last season and they were laughed out the building. But I think what me and you've spoken about is experience, and it's probably a good little side look at someone like Kenny McLean, to be honest. But he was mentioned last season about Morsey and Luongo and about Ipswich's midfield, you know, and them having more experience, etc., etc. Do you think we've addressed that?
With Joe Rothwell, yeah. And if they're going back in for Lubicic, all the reports that he wants to come, but we have to up our bid yet again. I understand the 49ers are doing it probably like they did with Jayden Bogle, where they bid low and eventually get to a middle ground. I understand that, but we do need to get these things moving. For me, I wanted 2 signings before the Sheffield Wednesday game. I think everyone, the fan base, I think the players, they all need a boost, you know, especially with Jorginho just leaving. And I think it would have done us good before the Friday game. Still no excuses. I still expect to win that game.
Yep, facts.
But you know what? Yeah, you know what I'm saying, though. But I just think that the fans need a boost. Listen, it's probably the same for you, but I usually get people with such good comments and sensible comments. Everyone's losing their heads. Like everyone's head is on Mars. No one knows what's going on. No. Everyone, even I'm reading some comments from people. I'm like, nah, that's not you, is it? It's like, no way. That's how it is.
Yeah, Steve says, seriously, what was the point in employing Jordan Miles, Greta, and Nick Hammond? Conor and Kagey would do a better job. Not sure about that. I'm used to players leaving. No difference to me. 27 years working at the church, no change.
I'm sorry. Just on that from Cookie, and shout out to Cookie as well. The players leaving. This is something that I always say on my channel, and I think the Jorginho one, you know, especially with the Brighton video, just kind of confirms that. Archie Gray too, where people thought he'd be here till he's like 30. You know, and only leave for Liverpool or Real Madrid. It's not a problem for me losing players. I mean, I've been used to that since the Champions League days and the fallout from that. but it's about who you're replacing them with. That's what I always look for. Yeah, Georgie, I'll miss you, but who is going to be that next Jorginho to step up for us in his absence?
Well, because it would have, for me, even from a hurt perspective, you know, if you go out and look, it looks like they're maybe looking at a replacement for Archie Gray in terms of a central midfielder. You know, that it feels like that's where it's going, Cage, in terms of an Archie centre midfield replacement, even though he wasn't playing there. A Somerville replacement, obviously left, and a Georgie replacement central, and then a cover for fullback. That's how it feels like they're going with these four. But what would have eased everything? And I understand football doesn't work this way. I completely understand that. But Georgie goes, next day we've got a signing, got a replacement. Next day, you know, that just stuff like that, just us knowing, right, okay, they're really active here. They've sold Jorginho, absolute gut punch, but they've lined up X the next day. Somerville leaves 1 or 2 days later, bang, replacement. It just feels, and this really, really aligns with what Farke's saying about them being picky. But okay, it feels like we've always been picky. Even the Rads days, they were talking about being picky constantly, and it does get massively frustrating because from a fan's eye, Cage, as we both know, it looks like they are taking too long and leaving it way too long, right? And you know, 9 days left, Cage. I understand there's 9 days left, and deals can get done. We did 5 deals in, I think, 5 or 6 days last summer, but it becomes a lot harder, doesn't it? They can't get around that.
Yeah, and I think what Farke is doing in public is actually the right thing. He keeps on making it very clear that we've got to, you know, adhere to PSR so that because people can see the money we've brought in, so they're probably thinking, well, what sell for another club for 4, we're going to give you for 7. All right, but he's making it clear and just trying to put out the fire in that way that we haven't got limitless money to spend. But we do. I don't know why that hasn't happened. But by the way, the foresight to think Somerville, Jorginho, these players probably won't be here. They shouldn't be here in the championship anyway. So you should have a contingency list. And as well, I know that Sammy Schmadix, I know that one's gone now. but listen, 9 million for him is a crazy deal. And if you could have got in there first and Ipswich kept dilly-dallying and you say, look, we're not in the Premier League, but if you come here, look what we've got here. We'll be there next season. You could sell the man the project. And that's the thing for me. And that's what Rads didn't do before. And he even said that on record in regards to Charles de Ketelaere. Now, listen, we may have got away with that one. You know, he's picked back up his career at Atlanta under the great Gasparini. But you can get, my coach, man, my coach.
He's always been your guy.
I love that man. What a coach, man. He's another one though that can turn like what's the saying, water into wine. He can do that with players. Like he'll get
bit of a Bielsa.
Yeah, he'll get a project where people go, this guy, and now Lookman scoring a hat trick in a European final, and
Arsenal linked with him as well, aren't they?
Yeah, PSG, Arsenal, and that's what great coaches can do for you. But yeah, now you've talked about Gasparini. I've lost my train of thought. There we go.
Sorry, so it just anyway, I feel the 49ers stuff is we can't fully judge them. Unfortunately, are they waiting way too long? We know they are. Are we worried? I think a lot of us are, and me and you are. I would say, as I say, your calmness personified always, but I'd say 100% I've been a lot more sort of rational with this window, and I've tried to understand what they're doing a little bit, and I've not been that fan. I've tried to step away from it, and I'm looking at what the Niners are doing, and I'm saying, look, we're in a better place, but there is 9 days in terms of a club, that is, but 9 days left. I'm looking at it now, and I'm getting a little bit jittery, Cage, I have to say, and the proactiveness, it's waning a little bit, and maybe there's stuff going on in the background. Well, there has to be stuff going on in the background, but I'm exactly like you, mate. It's Wednesday, the 21st of August now. We're playing Sheffield Wednesday, local rival, on the 23rd. You are absolutely bang on the money, and I will keep banging on the drum with this as well. We have to beat Sheffield Wednesday in terms of, you know, squad versus squad. But how are they not looking? I know, once again, I keep saying football doesn't work this way. You always get some person telling you that, but just even this week, man. Last week we felt we had to get a sign in. We had to get a sign in. Surely last week. This week, looks like, I don't know, KG, but for me, I'm predicting we don't get another one in. Again, it's going to all focus on the press conference tomorrow, and it's all going to deviate away from transfers and on to the Sheffield Wednesday game. And then obviously the weekend just sort of goes like the weekend does, and then it feels like there's just a mass amount of pressure on next week. That I'm honestly predicting that we maybe something at the weekend, but I don't think until the Sheffield Wednesday game we do anything, and it goes all into next week, mate, all into next week, and it's like, why, you know?
Yeah, I mean the press conference is today, so it's going to be. I mean,
today?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what Park says, but he's not going to be able to give any details unless there is literally someone doing their medical as they speak, and even then, you never know, there could be an issue with that. So, be interesting to see what he says. But there's the two things are true though, because what we've got currently in the squad, because there's no injuries, there's no suspensions, we should be doing better than we're doing.
Yep.
And the 49ers have also got to be looking at that for me as well. We've just spoken about Gasparini. Daniel Farker is someone that needs special players. You know, he needs those key people to get him out of, getting victories. And they've got to be looking at that. You've got to identify that. I mean, if we can see that, surely the 49ers can see that too. You know what I mean? And listen, Daniel Farker, so far, there's been excuses for every game. There is no excuse for the Sheffield Wednesday one. Georgie left, at the Middlesbrough game. They use that as an excuse, which is poor for me. I still think that's very poor. Players leave all the time. We saw Burnley lose Odebear for 25. They go and win their game 5-0. And that's what I'm talking about. There's a difference. There's a victim mentality sometimes at this football club where something goes wrong. Well, that's why we didn't win the game. No, we need wins now. I point out on my channel in regards to the wins, because I don't count just this season. I go back to last season where it was it was 2 wins in 9. It's now 2 wins in 13. So they need to get wins on the board as soon as possible. At the same time, with the 49ers, we've lost key players. You need to replace them as best as you can.
Yeah, I agree. Completely agree with all of that. I think there's a balance. Of course, there is, when it comes to the blame game, if that's what we're doing. But I'm getting a little bit weary, and I get hammered for this quite frequently, which I get surprised at, really, because ultimately we want our football club to win on the pitch. And I'm not. We're Leeds United fans, KG, aren't we? We'll be here long after the 49ers have gone, long after Daniel Farker's gone. I'm not here to support be a Daniel Farker fanboy. And for me, I've seen my club win 2 in 13.
Yeah.
I'm still seeing remnants of the same Daniel Farker from last season, which we don't need to get into. But I completely agree with you. I actually thought it was an absolute circus post the Borough game. What happened and how that entire press conference, everyone forgot about the game. Everybody forgot about the game. I could not believe it, because I've mentioned this before. It was 50-50 in the first half, mate. It was, I mean, it was a dead awful game.
Yeah.
But it was 2 crap teams. It was 50-50. We should have played better. They should have played better. Then the second half, they made changes. Carrick got into them clearly, and it all changed. So I didn't buy that whatsoever. But he swerved that entire press conference. So I mean, are you of the mindset that when he gets these players in that are replacements of the key players, then you'll judge him? Because I'm sort of a little bit like, well, if he's a coach and he's still got the likes of Joel Peru, Willie Nyonto, Matteo Joseph at this level, Dan James, Ethan Ampadu, Rodon Strout at this level, he should be judged right now.
Yeah, I completely judge him now, because if we can't be hearing the same excuses we heard last year, because we heard in the summer, and this is the thing, these are not things that we are making up here. These are things that are coming from the 49ers, and more importantly, Daniel Farker's mouth himself. We've got a full preseason. There'll be no surprises. There will be departures. They said all of this. They didn't guarantee Archie Gray was going to stay, or anyone, because they couldn't guarantee it. So they should have been prepared for all of this. And what it doesn't equal, though, is a 3-3 draw at home against Portsmouth and go into West Brom to not lose. Doesn't equal that, I'm afraid. Not for me, it doesn't. We had, what was it, 6 touches in West Brom's box.
I think he was worried.
He was. Yeah,
he was
I think I messaged you as well, Connor. Yeah. He just looked, not petrified, that's the wrong word, but he looked very worried about losing that game against West Brom. Looked very, very uncomfortable, because I think he knows if he loses that game, especially after that Borough performance, the pressure comes down on him even more, irrespective of what the 49ers are not doing at this moment in time. The 11 that he's putting out is more than good enough to win championship football games. And there's no debate in that.
I completely agree. And I mean, I've focused on this. I'd love to get your perspective on it, Cage. You might just look at the player. You might look at the manager, the situation he's in. I want to get the chat's thoughts as well. But I mentioned this last night on the stream, but Joel Peru's indicative of it for me, mate. I mean, this is a player who, for 2 seasons at Swansea, was a marksman, a sharpshooter, was doing, obviously was top of the championship charts for essentially 2 seasons, or top 2, top 3. He was in a team of Nitcham, Patterson, Obafemi, a blend of technical ability but explosiveness in and around him. He was a number 9, but we know how he plays. He veers into the number 10, doesn't he? Drops off a little bit. And with the profiles that Russell Martin had around him at Swansea, it worked absolutely perfectly. Martin varied from a 3-4-1-2 to a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-3, and it's making me sound like Russell Martin's but we know what Martin's like. Martin is in my opinion nowhere near a top level manager. But we can get on that in a future video or whatever when he's been sacked. But what I will say is, you got the best out of Joel Peru. And someone said to me in the comment section, "Oh well, nobody played in a low block against that Martin Swansea team." Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Many teams played in a low block against them, but he had varied formations. And the reason he had varied formations is because he built the team around Joel Peru, and he was the crux of that team. Now, look, we're not here to just focus on that and how great he was at Swansea, because ultimately they finished 10th and they didn't do good enough. However, what I will say, KG, is for 2 seasons successively, the best was brought out of Joel Peru. What is happening to Joel Peru now? Because you've mentioned Gasperini, we've spoken about Bielsa before. The key thing for a manager is to also be a coach and to get the best out of that individual and to find a plan of which you can mold that person into the team and obviously get the best out of them. What do we do with Joel Peru? Is it a case of just casting him to the side? Because surely if you're the 49ers, you'll be thinking to yourself, well, we spent 16 million quid on that guy last season. Farke was involved in that. Does that now just get cast to the side because we've not got the best out of him? I mean, we've got that perfect blend still of what Swansea had under Russell Martin. What are your thoughts on that one, mate?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different as well. Let's just get it out of the way. Swansea, Leeds United.
Yeah.
Already see with Joel Peru, when he misses a chance, the fans are on him straight away. He doesn't get the do Bamford song when he misses an open goal. When he scuffs a shot, everyone is just groaning at him. And I think it's very evident when you see him on the pitch. He loses confidence very quickly in terms of that. Last season was a bit different as well in terms of he didn't have his manager's full trust. I think that came to the fore when he was coming on for like 4 minutes a game towards the end of the season. But with Joel Peru, it is about his positioning, because I know what you're saying about Swansea building the team around him, but he is a part of a much better team here. So he's not going to be the main man. So he can't expect to have as many touches as he did before. The workflow isn't going to go through him. It's now going to go through Nanto in the main. And that's something that he needs to adjust as well. Yeah. Playing him behind Mateo Joseph is good, but there's a current breakdown as well with the way that we play. We're very pedestrian, very slow. And unfortunately, with Joel Peru at times, in the build-up, he's a part of that. It breaks down with him sometimes. So he needs to be quicker in thought in those areas. Are we going to cast aside a 16 million signing? Absolutely not.
We shouldn't really. We shouldn't.
Yeah, no, because I do think, and look, I could be proven wrong, and probably never know, because I think Farke will be here for the long term. I do think a better manager gets the best out of him. I do.
I completely agree. Because it just, I mean, and we're not saying Martin's a better manager, even though he.
Oh, I'm not saying that. Please don't ever put me in that conversation, guys. No, not me.
Yeah, but it is interesting how there was, even from him, a very limited manager. He was able to vary when it came to formations and get the best out of him in a few of those. It was interesting. Boy in the bandana says, shout out to you, mate. Did a breakdown. We are minus 63 mil since 2018. Player exchanges alone overall. So with parachutes and Premier League money, we should be loaded. Bobby says, shout out to Bobby, I know, as part of Cage's chat as well. If we lose and Burnley win, that's a 7-point gap. Right. Let's touch on this, because we have to. And the reason we have to touch on this is because, KG, this was the whole issue last season, wasn't it? The whole issue was, oh, well, Give it time, give it time, give it time. And we are holding Burnley and maybe others to the standard of Leicester and Ipswich, which Leicester and Ipswich, we've never seen that in championship football in terms of that start. I think it was within, I think it was something like 9 to 10 games. It's the quickest start two teams have ever had, in terms of points tally. So we have to factor that in. But once again, the rhetoric has been that Leeds don't have a slow start again last season. 5-week pre-season training camp. Daniel Farke being intertwined with his new team, having, in terms of players coming in and players going out, and obviously things changing there. And you were expecting, KG, for us to be in a much better position. And it feels like, once again, we're stuttering with a few really tough games coming up. We have to be honest. Leeds should win, but they are tough games at championship level. Sheffield Wednesday, Hull, Burnley. So it feels right now that is a bit of an issue. And do you see that as a little bit of an issue when it comes to Burnley and maybe Sheffield United, in terms of them building up this gap early on? Because we know in this championship season, mate, there is such a gap between these top teams championship level and the bottom teams who just get wiped up every week by those teams. You don't want that gap to get too much, do you, mate?
No, because we should be one of the two setting them. That's the thing for me. We should, and you look at the two games. I'm sorry, man. West Brom away it's a tough game. It is, but it's a winnable game. And you saw with their finishing last week. Boy, listen, their finishing last week was terrible. And if it was better, we would have lost that game. But they were snatching at shots. Their finishing was poor, and that's the only reason why we went away with a point in that game.
Well, I thought that as well. And I'll continue your point as well. By the way, I know you're going on to something there. But just in that West Bromwich Albion game, I thought if it was a boxing match, KG, they'd have won on points. I thought it was still it was West Brom were the team in the ascendancy, even though they didn't do much.
Yeah. I mean, both teams didn't do anything. I mean, stats are one thing. I think we both had 8 shots and 1 on target each. But if you look at the quality of West Brom's chances, with a bit more composure, they would have won the game. It was a dry game. Now I was falling asleep through that game. I'm not going to lie. It was a tough watch.
Terrible.
But you would have thought, though, from the two games, we'd have done a bit better. And you look at Burnley now, people can't say Burnley are any different from us. There's a lot of their players now being linked with moves away. Dara O'Shea is linked with a move away, one of their key centre-backs. As you said, Odobert has left. And there's a few other Sanderbergers leaving for Fulham. So their squad quality is being ripped apart also, but they're putting teams away. They've scored 9 goals in 2 games. Where is that from us? You know what I mean? Where is that? Where is the style of play? You know what? I'll ask you, Conor, because I asked my chat the other day. What is our style of play?
Well, we're not a counter-attacking side. I don't think we're a side who completely dominate possession. That was shown last week when a team in West Bromwich Albion who don't dominated possession against us. Do we focus out wide and build up like we did under Marcelo Bielsa, where we hit the flanks extremely quickly? No. I am the exact, is there even when you break it down to just the patterns of play, do you see underlaps? Do you see overlaps? I don't, KG, I have no idea. And this is why when you mention the style, when you mention the patterns of play, this is why we always go back to vibes. This is why we always go back to having these unbelievable match-winning players at this level, because that is what I saw last year. I saw a team of which, don't get me wrong, you have to say to Daniel Farke, there was development probably in terms of even Somerville, obviously, from his previous year, and Georgina Rutter, Archie Gray came in, nurtured him very, very well, of course. And you have to say Daniel Farke did well on that front. But overall, I think having those players at this level was a complete cheat code, and I would attribute that alongside, Farke, of course, but I think there was a much more even percentage, or maybe, outweighing Daniel Farke in that percentile to the players that we had. So I completely agree. I mean, I was told that, he's possession-based, vertical build-up, etc., etc. He's quick, it's dynamic. And that's what it sort of was at Norwich for periods of time. They weren't possession heavy. They would just get the ball up as quickly as they can to Buendia and see what happens. But I feel right now it's slow. It's lethargic. The decision making is staggered. I couldn't tell you, mate. I really couldn't. And that's a major worry.
Yeah, and listen, just for everyone, I actually want it to work with Daniel Farke, because I don't want to change manager. Because if we're changing manager, it means we're not doing what we should do. But you can't go on with this. You can't go on with a manager that's won, what is it, 2 in 13? That's at championship level, people. That is not good enough. It's just not good enough, especially with the squad we have. Just think about this squad. It's already being stripped a little bit in terms of the quality that we have. If we're in this league next season, which I don't even want to think about, but we won't have Ampadu, we won't have James, Roden probably won't be here either. We won't be able to keep a lot of these players.
Still have Bamford though.
Please, no. Please, no. Please don't. Why you always bring this guy up, man?
Because I just want to see your reaction. This guy will outlive us all, won't he? He'll just be at Leeds when he's 88 years old. It's
Look, listen. I at least wanted to see one credible link to say that we've offered him out to someone. I haven't seen that yet, which I'm very, very disappointed in the 49ers about. But you know what? You know why it is kind of. I know he's going to be here, just stinking up the joint. But I'm going to go with next summer we buy him out because he's got a year left on his deal there, and then we say goodbye. That's the hope I've got. You know, that's the hope I'm going to keep in my heart. You know what I mean?
It'll be a testimonial. Testimonial soon, KG.
I don't know. No.
Nearly 10 years, a decade at the club.
It's insane. Honestly, it's like Stockholm syndrome at this point with this man. But yeah, I don't want to speak about him, but there is more than enough Bamford aside and everything else for us to do better in these games. And it starts with Sheffield Wednesday on Friday for me. It should have started against Portsmouth at home, but it is what it is now.
I'm afraid panic buying may start with us now. Free falling says.
But I mean, with free falling's point there, I mean, if you start panic buying, then what was the point in waiting for all this time?
But that's what it is. But that's what it is, isn't it? It's because we're not being proactive. It's not. We're not being proactive. It's been over a month since Jadon Bogle came in, so we're not doing that, and we're not even being. I mean, you can be reactive, obviously, and we are going to be hopefully reactive by bringing in 4 players, but you're not being reactive to the signings, you know, instantly, KG. Rutter's not going, and then the next day we're bringing in X. That's not lined up, even though we know Rutter's going, and we know Brighton have put in 2 bids already, so there's a probably big likelihood that there's conversations behind the sscenes there of Brighton coming in again. It doesn't feel like we've had players lined up, or maybe we have, and that, you know, things have happened, but I'm sort of struggling a little bit with it right now. But when it comes to Friday, Sheffield Wednesday, you've got a coach in the dugout there who is working with. I mean, we have to be brutally honest here. When you're looking at Jamal Lowe, Windass, Barry Bannon, Palmer, Beadle, these are, with the greatest respect, below average Championship players who shouldn't really be competing with Leeds United, even with the players that we've got right now. Obviously, we've got Farke's press conference coming later on, and that, by the way, I won't say, you know, people are going to say, "Oh, you're arrogant, Conor," blah 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 blah. And a lot of people think, KG, this squad is bottom half, which I can't get my head round. But but we right now should be going to Sheffield Wednesday and comfortably winning with what we have on the pitch. And what another thing I wanted to put to you as well, which is kind of irrelevant, but it's interesting when it comes to on the pitch. I know you mentioned playing style. Did you see for the West Bromwich Albion game when Nonso was wide left and for about 30 minutes he didn't touch the ball, and then he took it upon himself to start coming centrally, and we actually started seeing Leeds progress up the pitch from that ember and into the final third with a little bit of pace. I found that quite interesting. Took it upon himself.
That's what the best players do, though. That's what best players have done through time. It's just this era of football where everyone needs their manager to hold their hand, and they got no creativity in their bones anymore. They're all just system players. But yeah, Nonto will do that, and he can go central. We've seen Nonto play central. The other thing is who then goes left at this point in time. That's why we need bodies in. But yeah, no, I absolutely get that. And listen as well, because I've seen Norwich of getting in replacements for John Rowe and everyone else. The difference between them is that we're going to we're hoping that we're shopping in a different market, so it's probably a bit harder for us to get the players, but it still shouldn't be this hard, though. I need to make that clear. It shouldn't be hard to get players in at this level for Leeds United. Absolutely not.
And how much better is that for a fan base as well, KG? You know, you let Johnny Rowe go and then Copium, you bring another player in for access of 11 million euros. It's going to help with the fan base as well, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah, because Norwich will probably thinking, wow, our parachute payments are gone. Gabri Sara's left. Jonathan Rose is on his way out. Where do we go from here? And look, they're bringing in the replacements, and it's good for them. I just hope that we're doing something similar, and that, you know what, and they just make everyone just shut up, you know. And I include myself in that, because I've got patience, but I know what I'm seeing. I know what I'm seeing in terms of the squad quality. You know what I mean? We need more bodies in there and quality as well.
Well, I think Sam's sort of. I think me and you are on a different page here, Kagey. But Sam's kind of what he's saying. I agree with. So he said, "I'm sorry, but Joseph isn't the answer up front. Too young to pin up all our hopes on." I know I can see people in the chat saying the same thing. And that, Kagey's mentioned 2 for Somerville, mentioned 2 for Rutter as well, and then others. I think the key thing now is when you're looking at we've spoken about Daniel Jebison before in terms of that young lad coming in and competing with Joseph, even if he came in on a loan, and it feels, Kagey, that because it's so threadbare now, you almost need, if you're getting a player or two players, I should say, if you, God, let's say for argument's sake, Benson and other. One of them needs to be able to play up top as well. We know Joel Peru is an out and out. Well, it's not an out and out, but he's called a 9, but he doesn't play as a 9, does he? So he drops off. So I think the fallback from Joseph to we know who is absolutely startling. It's worrying because what you saw is, and you are seeing this season, mate, is you're seeing Bamford come on for Joseph, which is clearly the substitute that Farke's got in his head. So that will happen throughout the season. That is a massive worry for me, a massive worry, and maybe what people are not focusing on enough.
Yeah, I mean, look, people will be talking about Joseph because he hasn't scored yet. And that's all it is. People are talking about he's too young to pin our hopes on, but we're pinning our hopes on Jorginho and Somerville last year, and they were 21 apiece, weren't they? I mean, or whatever Somerville is, maybe he's 22 now. But these are young guys. For me, it's never been about age; it's about the talent. But you know what? You've got to get the ball to Joseph as well. He needs to have opportunities to score, and he hasn't been getting those, especially in that West Brom game. There was no point playing a striker in that game in total. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a forward that Leeds United could look at. But yeah, it would be nice to get in another striker. But the problem is, Bamford is here, and as long as he's here, he's just going to be in the background, waiting for Joseph probably to not score in the next
on
game.
good wages, by the way.
Yeah, well, listen, again, Conor, Farke said it doesn't matter about, I'm not going to do a voice, it doesn't matter about the player's status, it doesn't matter about the player's wages, it's about who's playing the best. That's what he said just a couple of weeks ago. But while Bamford is here, there is no room for another out-and-out striker. There isn't room. So it's going to be Bamford as your backup, or as everyone's probably waiting for, Joseph not to score for another couple games, and then say bring in Bamford again.
This is where it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up Kagey against Sheffield Wednesday. If he goes for almost a bit more of a conservative midfield, which I thought was the wrong option.
Yeah, I did my first 11. I had Ruffwell starting for the West Brom game. But when I saw that Joel Peru was playing, I didn't think there was any chance that Ruffwell would be in there. And you saw as well the difference as well. In the first game against Portsmouth, Gruev had a lot more license to roam up the pitch.
Yeah,
in the game against West Brom, he was stuck right next to Ethan Ampadu. Like, don't move from that spot. You're tidying up everything in that midfield, and that was the difference between those two games.
I still think he doesn't kill it as such, but I think I unless you like we've said, if you're going to get a point, I get it. Which I don't think a lot of the times in this division we should be cagey, because we should be the big dogs. We shouldn't be going to get a point. And that was my frustration against West Brom. I didn't think with a back line of Darnell Furlong, Kyle Bartley, and Shemi Ajayi, I didn't think we should come away with a point. I think we should have gone and attacked them, and I think we had enough to do so. But we held out for a point, which is okay. But I think there's enough in this side to be going to most places this season, really, and looking for those 3 points. And I just think with Rothwell, you've played the game, the game. There's a speed of thought. I think he's a really good ball carrier. He just seems crisper. He seems more accurate. I like his set pieces. I think 95, 98% of the time they're on the money. I don't see any advantage in starting. You've got to start Ampadu, but there's already a balance there between Ampadu and Rothwell. One's a little bit more direct going forward. One's a little bit more reserved and combative in Ampadu. I don't see the point, even just going further forward. I think did Gruev and Ampadu start against Portsmouth, or was Rothwell? And it was Gruev and Ampadu, wasn't it?
Rothwell played in the Middlesbrough game.
That was it, the Middlesbrough game. And Rothwell played well as well. If it's based on a meritocracy, he should have come in, shouldn't he? But I think there's more of a balance with an attack leading person as a double pivot and a defensive leading person on a double pivot as well. I don't see the benefit of having Gruev and Ampadu in there, to be honest. Even if Gruev gets further forward, Rothwell's better at getting further forward than him for me.
Yeah, and look, and just quickly on that West Brom game, Alex Palmer was not comfortable on the ball. The couple times we did press him, he was very, very shaky, and I think he put the ball out 2 times from pressure, but we didn't pressure him enough. But yeah, I'm on that thing as well, because when I've done my squad build-up, I always put Ampadu as the linchpin in there, and then Gruev is the backup. So then you've got a central midfielder playing in there to be, you know, more general, because Joe Rothwell does get stuck in. It's not like he just doesn't do his defensive duties. He does, but he's going to be a bit more tack-minded, a bit more quicker to release the ball forward or do diagonals and all that kind of stuff. And that's where I go. The double pivot for me would be more if we're in the Premier League and we're having to keep out, you know, Man City or something like that. But we shouldn't be going to a lot of grounds in this division with 2 defensive midfielders, not the way they were deployed actually against West Brom, but more against Portsmouth, where Gruev was given the license. But then, like you say, you'd probably prefer Rothwell to be in there, or whoever the new central midfielder may be. But yeah, a double pivot in this division was an overkill, but we saw from the game plan we were going there not to lose, so it made sense, I guess.
Feels like it's Jubicic, doesn't it, in that central space? Feels like that's the one that's going to be done.
Yeah, I think the Bild newspaper was saying by 6.8. That sounds very high for someone with just a year left on their deal in Bundesliga, the second division. I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle, maybe 4.5 if they're going to look to get this one done. But yeah, we do need help. But the thing is with Ljubicic, I know we got 5 goals one year, but I don't know, man. It just feels like we're getting the same kind of midfielder that we've already got. I would much prefer a more creative one in the building, but it doesn't look like we're going down that route. So,
well, Rothwell barely played last season. He scored 4 goals. You know, played about 16 games and scored 4 goals. So, you know, he's 5 goals in a full season where you play nearly every game. Is that? I don't know. Is that?
No. That is good, but it's just that I'm not saying that Rothwell's not going to start, but I think Daniel Farke will favor his like the players that are transferred in over a loan. I think he's kind of made that clear as well himself. I think he made it clear last season. In fact, the only one that was deployed was Joe Rodon, you know, consistently. So yeah, I mean, it all depends on that. But you know, Joe Rothwell is, I've said it as well, he's an upgrade from Glenn Kamara for me. I never thought
I'd agree.
too much of Glenn Kamara. I thought he started out really well. He was silky. He was pressing high. Then it just disappeared, man. He was just another player. So yeah, Joe Rothwell for me is an upgrade, but we do need one in there for me.
Yeah, we do, mate. Right, we'll leave it there, bud. About 50 minutes gone on this chat. 1,900 of you in the building across all platforms. Make sure, please, for me, you go check out Kagey's channel. His name is in the description of the YouTube channel if you are new to his friendly face. And listen, we're going to be back discussing more rumours and more things going on at Leeds United very soon. But Kagey, thanks so much for joining, mate.
No problem, man. Thank you, everyone. And listen, if you're going to join me, I'll be on later. I'm waiting for a delivery, so I've got to wait for that. But I will be on later to discuss Daniel Farke and an idea of a forward that I've got that would be perfect for Leeds United.
Ooh, there you go. Check that out, guys. And we will see you in a bit.